Hello, ladies and gentlemen, as we are now back for episode 6 of Lake Talk. It is myself, Joseph the Voice, hanging out with Bub, Brave, and today we have a special guest, Uncle Stin, in the house. How are you all doing today?
I'm doing great. I mean, we were here last week. We got another episode of Lake Talk. Every time we're here, I'm excited to talk about stuff.
I lost connection for a second. I thought everybody was just so like, we're just here.
No. Who's that guy that hosts our podcast? No. Every time we're here, it's a good time. I'm happy to be back. We're here. It's episode 6. We're 2 weeks out from like 11 days or something like that out from LAN. I mean, it's a good time. It's a good time.
Absolutely. And today our major topic point, or I should say one of our major topic points, is in fact LAN. It is right around the corner. As you were saying, we are less than 2 weeks away. May 4th is in fact the day. You're not going to want to miss it. Mark it on your calendar if you haven't already. If you're in the area, you're going to want to come on out because we have been working very hard to add some extra things to you guys, just as viewers, to be able to come out and have a fun experience. So, I mean, with that being said, we have a lot of teams that didn't make it to LAN, but we still have 8 that did, because we had a large allotment of teams that came in this season. I think we went from having around like 30-ish to around 50-ish from year 1 to year 2, if I remember correctly. I could be a little skewed on my numbers, but I know we grew very rapidly going into our second season, and to now have it narrowed down to only 8 teams, and those 8 teams being Columbia College, Santa Heights University, another Columbia College in Columbia College Silver. We also have Oakland University, Western Michigan University, Michigan State University, Indiana University, and then Michigan State White. So we have 2 universities that are making their way out for this event in both Columbia and Michigan State that are bringing 2 squads. And that in itself speaks volumes as to what our universities are bringing out to these, obviously, events that we're hosting time in and time out. I mean, Stan, I'm going to bring you in here right away and just say, being a player of Great Lakes, obviously, like with LAN being around the corner, obviously, Ohio, you guys had a possibility of being able to play in, the LAN championship, but you have things like GLEC that pops up. You have things like, ECAC, you have things like NECC, you have all these different leagues that are all over the place. I mean, I could put every acronym out there. It's probably a league at this point. But the thing is, as a player, you don't always get the choice of, which one are we going to play in, which giant or which beast are we going to be put up against? Because you never know which one your director is really going to say, hey, I think this is going to be the best bang for our buck. I think this is where we can get our best value. And sometimes it might just be like, hey, this is where we've invested the most of our money at this point. So we have to play it all the way through to the very end. Being a player, how does that make you feel, being in a position where sometimes you don't get to play in the events that you really want to play in?
I mean, yeah, it's tough. Sometimes, like, I know at least this past semester, like, we had MEC, GLEC, GLCRL. There was no, luckily, honestly, there was no like CRL stuff going on, because that would have made it even worse then. Like, already hectic since we played in 3 leagues this semester. But I mean, yeah, over the 4 years that I've played, I mean, sometimes like leagues will overlap, and you have to pick like which one you want to participate in. Or, like sometimes like you're like, oh, well, we just won't even sign up for that league then, because you don't want to have too much of a congested schedule. But I know for this year, at least like for GLCRL, there wasn't too many conflicts, at least for like us personally at Ohio Northern.
That's good.
Yeah, the leagues, like we did do a lot, but usually they were mostly spaced out pretty well. I know besides like the CECC stuff going on, and I know for us, like we were potentially going to make it, and some of the other teams were, and so a lot of that was up in the air. But I think besides that, yeah, it wasn't too bad this year.
Well, that's really good to hear, to know that, at least here at Great Lakes, we're working to kind of meld our way around these different leagues to kind of create, a home is what I will call it. It's not just an atmosphere. It's not just an environment. It's a home. We want you to feel that when you're here, that you are a part of something bigger than just, we're just going to go and play this weekend in this league. We want to make sure when you're here that there's an impact. Obviously, bringing you on here, having a chance to speak. This is stuff that we want to have players coming in talking about, the impacts that we've made to you as a person, the impacts that you've made in this league or even surrounding leagues. That's all very valid and important. I mean, Brave, for you, one thing that we talked about a lot on our last podcast was values, was about our mission statement, was about, the origin of how we got to this point. I mean, I'm pretty sure that, when you go in every season, obviously we're coming to the end of this season, we're going to be moving towards our next season. That's a lot of stuff that weighs on your shoulders in terms of looking at schedules, talking to these different schools, finding out how you can weigh in with them to give them the best bang for their buck in terms of value. How has that been working for you, being in the driver's seat these last few months, kind of getting things organized and already prepped for this next season?
Yeah, I mean, every single year, as we grow and expand and more teams come and get involved, I mean, obviously our team has to grow and expand. So it's right now, a lot of the things too is letting people know that, we've done a slow expansion too. I mean, only in Rocket League for the first 2 years, now finally branching into Valorant after going into year 3. It's ensuring that what we promised and showed early on is maintained through the staff that trickles down. I mean, it obviously it runs from the top to the bottom, and a lot of times too it runs bottom up. Like a lot of ideas that we get and value that we get also comes from the bottom. It's not just always a trickle down. Like our staff always has a voice. So our value it's very important because we always want to make sure that we don't go away from what we started with as we expand. We always want to make sure that what we did is valid, it stays intact, it stays around. And then some things that we added extra is like additional LANs for free. Working hard to make sure that those always come through, that nothing happens, that these schools, when they apply and are become a member of our program, they get these additional value metrics for free of charge. I mean, like us partnering with Colleague, that's a huge metric for all these Rocket League teams because they get exposure through a Colleague, which is a very legitimate company that a lot of people look up to in the Rocket League scene. So it just really brings to light these different programs, and it brings a professional touch and like I say before, like a white glove touch. We know all of our directors by their first name, and if I don't know you by your first name, we need to have more of a conversation. That's on me, not on you. Let's have a conversation. Reach out to me. My contact information is pretty public. Let's have a conversation. Let me tell you what we have value here. Let me tell you what we're adding, and let me tell you about why we're doing what we're doing, and let's have a good conversation. So that's what we're doing moving into the next season, is ensuring our retention of our culture and our visions and our values, and then making sure that we're constantly adding additional value metrics for our universities so that they see this great opportunity.
And that is great to hear, actually. And one thing in particular that I want to touch on that you had mentioned, obviously adding more LANs, but not just adding more LANs, adding more to the LANs. I know coming up to this next LAN, we have Fortland coming out, and they're definitely going to try to give, their best foot forward in adding more value to our overall production, to our overall experience. And that is something that we also harbor very much so as a community, is making sure that we are giving back as much as we are trying to take from the community. We want your feedback. We want your insight. We want to know what we're doing wrong, what we're doing right, and how we can work to fix these things. And the more that you can give to us, the more that we can continue to give back more and more. And I mean, Bob, I'm pretty sure you can touch on that. Obviously, we've been doing a lot from the production standpoint to just keep on expanding and building and growing. I mean, we started with just a podcast idea, and now we're on to our 6th episode. We're starting to get a much more steady schedule. We're getting community nights going. We have our upcoming giveaway this Saturday, might I say, sponsored by JTV Entertainment. I'm a little excited about that myself. Got to give myself a little tip of the hat to actually be at this position and be able to give back myself to the league. Makes me very proud. But Bob, talk a little bit about some of these expansions we've been making more on the production end.
Yeah, I mean, and Brave touched. He did a really good job talking about making sure we're having the highest quality possible, and from even like a commissioner standpoint, like making sure events run smooth, making sure the competition is quality, that we are putting our best foot forward. We're giving 100%, making sure, not holding anything back. I mean, in meetings all the time we hear about don't leave any rock unturned, explore all avenues. That's what we try and prove every time we go out we host an event, is we put our heart, our soul, and every ounce of passion that we have into these events, and it shows. I'm excited to see what Intertech looks like. But on the production side, I mean, we've seen a huge expansion from the beginning, where it was me and 2-3 others, to Joe comes in, and then now Stin, who is a player for Ohio Northern, he's actually a community manager with us here at Great Lakes CRL. the expansion that we've had on the production side is great, and we've been able to bring higher quality show every single time there. But just finding ways to improve the relationship, even the players and the community in the league, that's also so important, and that will never stop it.
Yeah, and to just add on to, I mean, I remember our first year, we had Bub in the background being the producer of it, and he was using Photoshop to throw together a customized scoreboard for ourselves, and he would have to take the time in between and seconds and minutes matter in an industry that's such fast pace. So he's taking the time, taking the minutes to do up these scoreboards, and then we're just like, you know what, like, let's make it more professional. Let's make our schools super interested. So we actually reached out to a fairly famous guy. I don't know what you'd call him, but does overlays. His name's Lindor. And he put together a very awesome scoreboard for us, boost indicators. And it saves us so much time, because now all that we have to do is everything's just loaded. We click and click and it's ready to go. So not only did we up our production value, but we also upped the speed at which we can get that production value out to our viewers. And also the hype chamber. I mean, we've had, I think, several different people do our hype chambers. We had somebody do it early on, then we had another person kind of revamp and revitalize it. I mean, that's all professional stuff, and some of it was in kind, some of it we paid for. So, I don't remember the person's name that did our most recent hype chamber, but thank you to you if you're watching. And say it.
Yeah,
I don't know, what is it?
From UM Flint.
Oh, there we go. Azelle from UM Flint. So thank you to you, because I mean, without that, that's added value that we could add in our production. And then again, thank you to Lindor for doing an awesome job on our overlay. And if there's ever any issues with it, he's pretty fast to respond. So it's been great. It's been awesome seeing where we started from. And I actually just had a meeting at Lawrence Tech, and I got to talk to CJ today. And we kind of reminisced about the glory days of when it was kind of 3 people, not really what was going on in production, and we had a good conversation about it. So it was nice to meet up with him again and have that conversation. But that production value, A, is sped up, and B, it's a lot more top notch. So good work, and good work to the production manager, the assistant production manager, both you, Joseph, and Bub. Good work to you both. That's awesome. It's great to see that we're making these awesome strides, because it makes it a little bit easier for me when I have those conversations with directors to say, hey, look what we do. Just take any video, look what we do, and that really is a good selling point. So kudos to you two. It is a lot of appreciation.
And another thing, one more thing before we move, I apologize, Joe, is we've talked about improvement, and we've talked about this on our Twitter. We are looking to revamp the Great Lakes logo. Joe, I know you've talked about this a few times on stream. For our community, we're doing a contest right now. You can help develop the new look for Great Lakes CRL. You can enter the contest. All the information is available on Twitter. I encourage you to go check it out. And if you're hating every bit of contribution from the community to the players to staff, I mean, Brave talked. The ideas coming from bottom up. The backdraw that we do was a player idea that was given to just another. Get a little bit more, a little more from her with her. Yeah,
absolutely. You basically took the words right out of my mouth, because I was going to kick it right over and say, I know we have this cool idea that we're pushing on right now about creating a new logo, but yeah, the reality of it is we're trying to get more involvement from our community, from the overall, just to have you guys feel more involved with what we're doing here. And the other thing is obviously, the big reason why we're here, ladies and gentlemen, and the one thing that we need to talk about, because we're going to keep on going left and right with it until we finally get an answer, is right now we are, like I said, a week and a half away from LAN. And I think all of us need to take a moment to, like I said, look over these 8 teams and really get a feel of how do you think this may play out? Who is that? Like, let's pick who is your front runner and who is your sleeper pick, is how we should play this out. And I feel a lot of us may feel similar in certain ways, but I think a lot of us will also feel very different in a lot of ways as well. I mean, Brave always has very bold predictions, and I'm expecting some left field kind of answer here, which I'm always good with. I mean, I feel a little left field myself.
I believe the term is out of pocket, Joe.
Brave is always out of pocket. But real quick, before we get anywhere, I mean, let me re-list these teams one more time so everybody's aware of the teams that have made it out to LAN and have their chance of winning the championship this season. We have Columbia College coming in at first place with 180 points. They just continued to tear up the scene this year. Every time when we thought that they were going to fall down, they stood back up even taller. The only loss they took this season was to Columbia Silver. And I'm just saying, even with all the changes that have happened, Cam moving on to the next level, it is still very much in their wheelhouse. In second place, we have Siena Heights University. Now, this team, they're called the Huskies for a reason because they're dogs. They fight very hard and they are vicious. They are going to bite and claw, and they are going to do what they can to try to rip you apart mentally so that they can win these games. And they came in with 115 points. Now, think about that. That is a huge difference in points. That's 65-point difference between first and second place. No, just think about that. Not saying that Columbia College has it in the bag in any way, shape, or form, but to know that that's the difference between first and second speaks volumes as to how hard Columbia College worked throughout the season. But Siena Heights is right on your tail, so be careful. In third place is Columbia College Silver, the one team that did take down the A roster of Columbia College Navy. And unfortunately, they've only been able to accrue 99 points to this point in third place. They have about half the amount of points of their predecessors in Columbia College. Nonetheless, they are fighters, and if they've done it once, they can probably do it again. As we move on, we have fourth place Oakland University, 1 point behind Columbia Silver. It's pretty interesting because once you get to that 3, 4, 5, it's very, very close. And as you look, Oakland University, 98 points. They have been literally... Honestly, they are kind of exactly what they are. They're like a hibernating bear because as soon as you start to poke and prod at them, they come out of hibernation swinging, screaming, and they are ready for a fight. And I'm telling you, do not rule out this Oakland University team at all. I know they have a roster adjustment, but they are still a team that you are going to want to keep your eyes on. Then we move into fifth place. We have Western Michigan University. Once again, like I said, 3, 4, 5 is a difference of 1 point each. So Western Michigan University, 97 points. To me, this has been a second half team because that's when they showed up and that's when they continued to show out. And they are now in a position with 97 points where they weren't even a part of our first event of the year. And they are in a position where they are now towards the top of the totem pole. So keep that in consideration yourselves that most of those points came from the second half of the year. Then we move on down to sixth place, which is Michigan State University. They don't have one, but two. They're one of two colleges to be able to bring out two schools or two of their teams from their school for this competition, and it's exciting. They come in with 73 points. But I'm telling you right now, both of their squads are very interesting. They have a lot of uniqueness to them. And I am a little disappointed to know that their white squad isn't going to be bringing out and rostering Dr. J for this one. But I'm telling you right now, both of these teams are still fighters, and you're definitely going to want to keep your eyes alive. We move on to our seventh place team, which is in fact Indiana University. Now, this team, I think personally, has been really honestly our most consistent team, aside from, I would say, Columbia College University. I'll just say it like that. They've really been middle of the tier consistently. They've honestly held their rank primarily throughout the season. And with 63 points, most of their competitions, they pulled about 11 points almost every single time they went out. If that doesn't say something, they only got better as the season continued. They started off 8 points, and then 11 going forward. So keep that in mind that they are only getting better as the season's continued. And then coming up the rear in eighth place is, in fact, Michigan State White. As I stated, they are definitely, like I said, without Dr. J, I'm curious to see what's going to happen with that roster, but I still think that they're going to put on a good fight, put on a good show, and there's a reason why they're coming out to LAN. So I'm really excited to see how that all plays out. So with that all being said, I'm going to kick it on over to you, Stin, and ask you, who is your top team coming in to this LAN, and who would be your sleeper team if you had to have a caveat?
I mean, obviously, I played in the league for Ohio Northern, so I've played against some of these teams throughout the whole year, had some experience. For like my top team, man, that's tough. I was hoping I was not going first, but
it had to be this way.
No, fine. we'll let you go last because you're our guest. I'll take the pressure off of you, and we're gonna throw it on Bub. Bub needs some pressure on him.
Okay, you know what? Let's not pressure, because I've been thinking about this for the last couple minutes while you've been talking about the teams. It's so hard to pick between 1 and 2 because I think they're so close. I think our top 3 are a lot closer than people realize. It kind of depends on how one team plays on the day, but I gotta go with Columbia. It's brutal for me to say Columbia from the beginning of the year to the end of the year is still by far and away the number 1 team in Great Lakes, but they looked a little weaker in the spring major, and then they looked unbeatable again. And until that changes, and it might change on the 4th, you don't know. They're by far and away my number 1 at the moment. They're there until somebody beats them. As for my sleeper team, I gotta say Siena Heights. It's wild for me because they're my number 1 and my number 2. I think they're a team that is due, and I think they're gonna get their shot here. I could see them doing it. I could see them winning and surprising a lot of people. I could see Western Michigan doing it to please Joe over here. I could see Oakland doing it. There's a lot of teams here who are very, very capable. I mean, they've all earned their spot, but I don't think my Siena Heights pick is going to be a hot take, but they're a team that you can't count out in any series unless it's Western Michigan for some reason in like an elimination scenario. I don't know why, but that seems to be their kryptonite right now is Western Michigan in an elimination scenario.
Man, Bubba's only saying things that I want to hear right now, but I mean, we're not going to go to me quite yet. We're going to kick it on over to Brave because I got to hear some type of out-of-pocket prediction real quick.
Yeah, I don't know how to spell, but
I just need you to say it.
Let's see. I don't know how to spell, but not Columbia. I think for the pick, I think Michigan State Green. I think they're looking pretty hot. They've been putting some good strides. I mean, they did our show match against the SEL team. They showed really hot. They showed really good against a really good. I think it was UTK. A really good UTK team. I mean, they came back from a 5-goal deficit to almost win the game. So I think they've been looking really, really good. They got a really good coach behind them. So I think they could definitely make some strides through the standings and maybe get
so is that your
close.
Sleeper? Is that your sleeper pick? Like your caveat?
Yeah, I would
Okay.
probably pick my sleeper. That's my sleeper. Michigan State Green is probably going to sleep their way through. Do I think they're going to probably get to the finals? Yeah, probably not. But I do have to probably side with Bub on Siena Heights probably taking it. And this is just due to the fact that I did talk to Corrupt. He is very motivated as a coach because he has never got 3rd place in an event. At a LAN. He's never got 3rd. He wants to keep his 1st and 2nd place record. So I think he's really going to try to push for that 1st place. And I do see Columbia College Navy going to the grand finals, but I see them probably getting beat by Siena like they got beat before, and I think that's going to be due to them having to travel so far away from their flat home of Missouri, and Siena Heights going to be playing in a familiar location because they were there about a month ago for the WAC championship, so they have kind of a home turf advantage, and Missouri does not. They're doing a long travel for Columbia. And I just think that, that Indiana air is just going to really get to them.
Indiana air is crazy.
Yeah.
All right. Before I pass on over to Sten, man, I thought Brave was going to be a little bit more bold with his prediction, so I'm going to be the bold one here.
Western
Pretty bold
Michigan
in
picking
Michigan
coming.
My sleeper team is Indiana University.
Wow.
I was not ready for this.
And the reason why Indiana University is because they've been so consistent. Do I expect them to win the whole thing? Not entirely do I expect them to win the whole thing, but do I expect them to make a major impact, make some noise, and show why they are who they are in their own state? Absolutely. Then my team that I think is going to win, and I've been saying it all year, and I'm not going to change my tone now. I understand Columbia College is that team. I understand you're that team. I understand it. But understand this. Western Michigan has only played half a season. And they are right there. They are right there. So do not sleep on them. Do not rule them out. Do not consider them as not an opponent. Because I'm telling you right now, as Bub said, Siena Heights cannot beat them right now. They've been their kryptonite. So if Siena Heights is that team to win, but they can't beat Western Michigan, let me see them face off in this competition. Let's see who comes out on top, because I think this is the first time where they're not going to be facing off early in the competition. The only time they're going to play out is if it happens later on, if I'm correct. So it's not going to be an early face-off. It'll be something that'll happen later, but that is going to be the match decider, is if Western Michigan and Siena Heights go facing off against one another. I think Western Michigan takes it again. They end up against Columbia College, and if they got that momentum, I don't know if you can stop them. That's what I'm going to say. So, Stin, I'm a little out of pocket today. How about you?
Yeah, I thought I was gonna go a little crazy too, so maybe we'll see. But something I was thinking about, I played at a few LANs in my time, and I think sometimes like we forget, like, you know, when you do like all these online, you know, tournaments, qualifiers, you know, whatever, like league play, whatever it may be, you know, you're not gonna see the same team that you see online on LAN, right? Like it's a very different environment. You're not playing on your normal setup.
Well, I got to sit in for this one. Stin is speaking some good language here. I'm listening.
Yeah. You're a little uncomfortable, you know, and obviously, like, the Columbia teams, I'm pretty sure will have experience and, like, the Siena Heights and all that, but, like, still, like, you know, you could wake up on the day, you have a messed up stomach from what you ate the night before, like, something could happen. You just, like, it just depends on the day who's going to show up, and I like WMU to win, if I'm being honest. I think they can pull it out. I was watching them, some of their highlights, and I've seen what they've been able to do, and I think they are a sleeper, but I think they have a really good chance of going far and doing a lot if they show up on the day. I really like that roster. And another one for me is MSU Green. I think their main roster with Knock and Rocket Man, I think they're, you know, don't sleep on them.
They're on the way up, man.
They have a very good roster, and I think they have a chance of winning that first round matchup that they play against.
Is Nar finally making an appearance?
Yeah, I think he should be playing. I hope. I love that guy.
Finally. I think that guy had probably the most physical, rough run through our events ever. I think he broke his hand in the first split, right?
Yeah. He couldn't play in the first event.
Oh boy.
No, yeah,
not even a mental. It's just physically he just hurt himself.
Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, I like WMU and MSU, if I'm being honest. Like, I think, and also like we've mentioned, I think Bub saying Siena Heights is a sleeper is crazy. I think they're a really strong roster. So
totem pole. Bub said, you know what, 1 and 2.
Yeah.
That's just where I'm at.
I even said it
it's
too.
A lock.
I said it too, and I saw you laugh. But like, Siena Heights is the 2 seed, and I still feel like there's a lot of people saying they're not a top 2 team, and I don't see it. I mean, we've seen the improvement from Fuge. We've seen 11 come out as like this ultimate team player this season. Ben's a friggin' human highlight reel. Like, that team works together, and I can't explain it. It's not like one individual player. It's kind of like it's the sum of everything put together. They are so good together, and they just work, and that's why you look at maybe talent, and again, I don't dare dash the name of 11 or Ben or Fuge, but you compare them to like Pete from Oakland, both Columbia rosters for most of the season, and the players don't stack up individually, but as a group, they absolutely do, and I think it's time we stop sleeping on them, even if they are the 2 seed.
Well, I mean, respectful and well said, I will say that. But like I said, just to me, I got to look a little bit deeper into these rosters and get a feel for what they offer. And I do know, like, I am a little sad. I do know Skirt is not playing with Western Michigan University, which does make a little bit of a difference. But I still feel like that's just the tenacity that they offer from that university, I think, in itself speaks volumes. And if they can just, obviously, like, they know there's a reason why you have a roster, you have subs. You still play with your sub. You still have the chemistry. You still understand how things work. And I guarantee you, as soon as they knew that adjustment was happening, they've been nonstop grinding together to this point. So I have high expectations to still see what happens there. And like you said it really well, Stin. You know, LAN is a different beast. It is a completely different tone in itself. I mean, the nerves can come into effect. You know, you could have some bad, like you said, some bad food from the night before, whatever it is. And all of a sudden it just puts you in a bad situation. I know when we were talking just this last week, you were getting ready for, I believe it was a LAN, and you were like, oh man, I just realized my boost isn't working, and I've been wondering if it was working, but now I know for a fact it's not working. I looked right at you and I said, Stan, you need to get the other controller. You know you have the other controller. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. Your players are relying on you. It's not just about you anymore. Obviously, those ifs, what haves, possibilities, they can't be there. All that just needs to be negated, and reliability is the only thing that needs to shine through. So it's those things that, hardware can fail on you. All of a sudden your mental is just not where it needs to be. Something personal happens in your life and just kind of throws you off your game. You never know what's going to happen. But just be honest with your team. Be honest with yourself while you're in these moments. And that's where you're really going to find who you really are, how you're going to play, how you're going to handle these situations. And you're going to gain a lot of respect from your peers around you if you hold your demeanor and you handle it in a very constructive and professional manner. So, it's just one of those things. Like I said, LAN is a beast in its own, and it's one of those things that people need to give respect to the fact that when you get out there, not every team is the same. Like you said, Stin, you said it perfectly. So I think we're going to hop on over to our last little segment of the night. It's not going to take too long, but I just want to highlight that this Saturday, as we said earlier in our podcast, we are going to be doing our first ever giveaway for Great Lakes on Great Lakes CRL. I will let everybody know that going into the summer, we are going to be making a transition over to the main Great Lakes esports page, and we'll start to filter out more information to get you guys more equipped with that, so you can be part of all these giveaways, the extra content that we offer, the podcast, and you guys can really be up to date on all things Great Lakes as we move forward. But for this Saturday, we are going to be doing marbles on stream. It'll be myself and Bub. We'll be hanging out. We'll be answering questions, getting everybody involved with the experience. Everyone and anyone is involved can be a part of it. Exclamation play. Yeah, exclamation play will get you on into the game. And essentially, you'll just be in a simulated marble. It's RNG. It just kind of rolls to the end, and whoever wins, wins. We'll be running some Grand Prix, and our first Grand Prix winner will be getting a $20 gift card of a system of your choice, courtesy of JTV Entertainment. And in our second Grand Prix, we'll be giving away some Great Lakes swagger from our website. We'll be getting a cool code. They'll be putting it on the website, and you'll be able to order your merchandise there and get it sent to you. And hopefully, you pick some awesome swagger, maybe even, catch you out to some of our events and see a repping, or even when you get it, make sure to take a photo and represent. I mean, I don't know who all has stuff. I was looking for my hashtag prove me wrong shirt, but unfortunately I buried it somewhere, right before the podcast. So I was ready for the prove me wrong, but unfortunately I didn't have it ready. That's on me. However, you can be ready the next time it happens for you. Get that hashtag prove me wrong and show the world that, these bold predictions, these out-of-pocket predictions are all what they say they are. So make sure, like I said, this weekend, you're going to want to tune on in. You're going to want to come on. I believe we are starting at, is it our normal 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time? And like I said, we're running two Grand Prix. We'll be getting you guys involved, and definitely it'll be a fun time for you all to win some awesome things here at Great Lakes. So I'm Joseph the Voice, hanging out with Bub, Brave, and Uncle Stin. This is Great Lakes Esports Lake Talk. We hope all of you have a wonderful night, and we'll see you again next time here on our podcast.
Bye, everybody.